week 15 of the fantasy baseball season, and here's a few pitchers I look to drop this week. The first guy, Kyle Gibson of the Baltimore Orioles. So Kyle Gibson, he's been an up and down pitcher, obviously, throughout his major league career, bouncing around over the last few seasons with Philly, Baltimore, Texas Rangers in the time, and on the season 9-6 record, 115 innings, 90 Ks, a 4.77 ERA, 1.35 WHIP, and 9 quality starts. But the last month of the season, he's pretty much been the only guy struggling on this Oriole team, it seems like, where they've won 8 in a row, and they're one of the hottest teams in the league. In the last month, 32 innings, 1-3 record, 32 Ks, a 7.03 ERA, a 1.47 WHIP, and 2 quality starts in the time. So right now, I know Gibson, he had a couple decent outings earlier in June, but the last few weeks here, we really haven't seen much out of him. And I know this offense is going to back him more nights than not, is Gibson, but he's still not a pitcher I would trust, and I actually would drop him. Surprising he's still owned in 41% of leagues. So the last few games here from July 4th at the Yankees, 6 innings, got the loss, 3 hits, 4 runs, 4 walks, 4 Ks. July 9th did a weak hitting twin team. He had a monster game though, 7 innings in that one, got the win. 3 hits, 2 runs, a walk, 11 Ks, which was a big number and a quality start. And then July 15th versus the Marlins, 5 1/3 in that one. 9 hits, 5 runs, 2 walks, and a K. So right now, nothing really jumps out, obviously, except that one monster game for Gibson. But besides that, it's pretty much been 5 or 6 innings, 3 or 4 runs given up each and every time out there for Gibson. And right now, I could even see him get knocked out of the rotation, possibly as well sooner than later, as Gibson. If another youngster comes up through the minor leagues or someone emerges here for this Baltimore Oriole team, because now we're seeing Grayson Rodriguez. He came up and back in the rotation in last night's ball game. And right now, Kyle Gibson is a guy whose job definitely could be on the line if he continues to struggle for the most part. So this week here, I would drop him, and right now he's not doing much. The next pitcher, Michael Soroka of the Atlanta Braves. So the Braves back into their rotation definitely has been an issue this season. Actually, with the injuries to Kyle Wright and Fried, it's tough for the Braves to fill out the back end. But with that offense, it doesn't really matter, in my opinion, here in the regular season. When you get to the postseason, it's a different type of game. But right now, with this offense over there in Atlanta, they could throw out pretty much mediocre guys at the back end. But anyway, Michael Soroka is not just getting the job done this season. I know it's been a long way back to the major leagues here for him, but on the season for Soroka, 23 1/3, 1-1 record, 19K, 5.40 ERA, 1.50 WHIP, and a quality start on the season. But Soroka, he was pulled from the rotation. They called up AJ Smith-Shawyer for a little bit with the Braves for a few weeks to get in the rotation, and then he got bumped out for Michael Soroka. But Soroka actually pitched in a relief outing a few nights ago versus the Chicago White Sox. Obviously, with all that rest from the All-Star break, but like I said, Soroka, he really hasn't done much so far in his return here to the major leagues after the last few seasons missing the years with the injuries. So the last few games here for Soroka, June 30th versus the Marlins, it was a good one. 6 innings, 6 hits, 3 runs, 7 Ks, a quality start. July 5th versus the Guardians, 4 2/3. No decision, 5 hits in that one, no runs, 3 walks, 4 Ks. And July 16th versus the White Sox in the relief outing, 3 innings in that one, 3 hits, 2 runs, 3 Ks. So right now, not looking good for Soroka. ERA is up there. He's walking a decent amount of batters as well. And the velocity is down right now. So right here, it's going to take him time to try to get back to form, if he could ever get back to that top of the rotation type of form he had a few years ago. Here's Michael Soroka. But I don't know, obviously, if he could get back to where he was as Soroka. So right now, well, we don't know what the Braves are going to really do with him. And the struggles have been obvious over the last few weeks here. He's a pitcher I would drop this week. The next pitcher, Martin Perez of the Texas Rangers. So last week I mentioned Perez as a drop, and I'm still going to keep him on this list here to drop him this week. Right now, still on 37% of fantasy leagues. I know he's got a great offense backing him over there in Texas, but this season's been totally opposite of last season for the most part. His win-loss record is great, but nowadays that win-loss record doesn't mean much as it used to, because these pitchers don't go deep into ball games, and obviously with bullpens blowing games and all that type of stuff factored in. So on the season here for Perez, 96 2/3, 7-3 record, 62 Ks, a 4.84 ERA, a 1.50 WHIP, and 8 quality starts on the season. But the last month of the season here for Perez, 19 1/3, 1-0 record, 8 Ks, a 6.05 ERA, 1.50 WHIP, and 2 quality starts. So right now he's gone out there over the last few outings, and he really hasn't gotten much done for fantasy owners or this Texas Ranger team. So at the trade deadline, I definitely could see the Texas Rangers go out there and try to get a starting pitcher, obviously with DeGrom out for this season and pretty much next season as well. And Martin Perez not pitching good baseball as well. So the last few games, June 27th versus the Tigers in that one. 6 innings, 4 hits, 2 runs, 2 walks, 4 Ks, a quality start. July 3rd versus the Astros, 1 1/3 in that one. 6 hits, 6 runs, 2 walks in that ball game. And July 16th versus the Guardians, 5 innings in that ball game. 5 hits, 3 runs, 4 walks, 2 Ks. So the walks have been an issue a little bit here for Martin Perez. He's not a hard-throwing pitcher to begin with, and his location's been off this season. So right now, while he hasn't done much for the last month and a half of the season is Perez. He's a pitcher I would drop this week, and I know he's got a great offense, like I said, behind him over there in Texas, but it's still not translating to solid numbers for fantasy owners. Next pitcher I look to drop, Scott McGough of the Arizona Diamondbacks. And McGough, he's got the closing role over here in Arizona, but that's been a problem for this Diamondback team the whole season. It's closing games out in the 9th inning or whatever the case may be, and McGough, he came in as a closer for a little bit. But now things are starting to catch up to him, and the league's starting to catch up to him on the season. 47 2/3, 1-6 record, 7 saves, 59 Ks, 3.78 ERA, a 1.09 WHIP. But the last month of the season, 1-1 record, 5 saves, 11 1/3, 17 Ks, a 7.15 ERA, a 1.94 WHIP. So this Diamondback team, first half of the season, they were hot for the most part, but the last 10-15 games, they've really cooled off. Is this Diamondback team, and now the Dodgers in first place over there in the NL West, and closing games have been a problem. And like I said, McGough has been getting hit pretty decently over the last few weeks here, where he's ballooning up fantasy owners' ERA. He's not closing games out, and I think this Arizona Diamondback team, they're going to go in a different direction at the closer role with Andrew Chafin or Mark Melanson. He gets back sooner than later. So right now, while he's struggling, and I'm not a big closer guy anyway in fantasy baseball, there's so many closers that are inconsistent or lose their jobs throughout the season. Besides the top few guys at closer, there's no one really you could count on anymore like you did a few seasons ago, for whatever the case may be. So right now, struggling McGough, and he's not really a pitcher I'm willing to wait on to turn things around and hold on this week. And the fifth and final pitcher I look to drop this week here is A.J. Minter of the Atlanta Braves. A.J. Minter, he's been closing on and off this season, and now he's on the injured list with left shoulder inflammation, and that's obviously never a good thing with the shoulder, especially on your pitching arm. So A.J. Minter on the season, he was shaky for the most part as well, closing ball games out. 40 1/3, 3-5 record, 10 saves, 50 Ks, a 4.91 ERA, 1.09 WHIP. So right now, Raisel Iglesias, he's back anyway in the closer role over the last couple months of the season, where he started the year on the injury list, and now with this injury for Minter, it wouldn't be surprising to me if we don't see him come back towards early September, mid-September, where the Braves obviously got a monster league in the NL East, so they could afford to rest some guys for a little bit, and that's what they're going to do with Minter right now, owned in 43% of fantasy leagues. But closer, I don't think it's as important in fantasy baseball as it was. I'd rather roll out a probable starter almost every day instead of maybe carrying a closer, especially in points league, because it's a crapshoot at this point. So right now with the injury and with Iglesias pretty much getting the bulk of the saves anyway before Minter went down, he's a pitcher I would drop this week. So that's a few pitchers I look to drop here in week 15 of the fantasy baseball season.